En su lugar, Saria, Premio del Público, Prize of the Audience.
Right from the beginning, when they announced the People's Choice Award, the Audience Choice Award, and we won that award, it was electrifying. I think we had a general sense that we did well in competition, and I felt like we represented ourselves well, and I think we achieved the goal that we had and that Brady had for us to represent ourselves well. But to have the countdown, the 3, 2, 1 for each category, and to see our name come up the first time was in itself amazing, and then each successive time it was surreal, especially being my first choral competition like this. I absolutely was electrified by it. And then of course in the last category, when they had 3 third place winners, I thought, you know, they did the third and then the second and the first, and I thought those were the winners, and it ended up they were just the third place people. And so then when it again came to that, and we won that 4th category, it was unbelievable. It was so exciting, and it was so neat to see that experience for all of us, but especially for Brady. I think it was great to see him, you know, be able to have that culminating moment.
I really couldn't believe it. I really didn't believe it. It was surreal. And I mean, I've been singing for a long time and have never sung in a contest like this. And I just felt like it was almost like an out-of-body experience for me. And I can remember running over and hugging Jane, who I've known since we were 17, just out of high school. And both of us feel like not only did our choir peak at this festival, but musically my life peaked at this festival, which really makes it a special time for me.
Honestly, I sum it up in calling it the 7-day miracle, because I think from our first concert here in Spain to when we began to compete, there was a transformation that took place. And yes, we invested, each of us individually, effort in preparing this, but rehearsing once a week, and like you said, not knowing vocal quality of each other, and kind of coming from that kind of context where everybody's mixing in, and putting this together, you know, back in May, June, I can recall Amy Frederick at one of the rehearsals, we were just chatting, and she said, you know, this is going to be a lot of fun, but with the time that we have and the amount of rehearsals we're putting in, I think we're going to have an enjoyable time, but I don't know how well we're going to do in this. And then to see that, you know, once we got to Spain, we came together, we rehearsed hard and often here, and then we went out and sang for the love of it. And I think that was what we needed, was to have that perspective, and it happened.
When competition day rolled around, they asked us to wait in the waiting room, and it was always this tiny little poorly lit room with vanity mirrors and lights and stuff, and it was always interesting to see what people did in the choir to deal with their nerves. Some people sat quietly and focused, others would read. There were people who even felt the need to do push-ups to get into that competing mode, and it was always a hot, sweaty mess inside that waiting room by the time we were ready to go on stage. But we would leave the waiting room and march down this long hall that, as you walked down, it seemed to get thinner and thinner. And we'd wait in the stairwells, and then on the side of the dark stage, and then we would march out, and it would be time to do what we had come to do and compete.
The Salt Lake vocal artists are on tour in Spain, and we were bused to this cute little town close to Tolosa, and we're staying at this cute little quaint hotel that starts with a G and is a jumble of letters that no one can pronounce.
Our hotel was very European. The rooms were relatively small. Our double bed was not so much.
This tour was very special when it came to the bus rides. We had some pretty aggressive bus drivers, the windiest roads in history and a hotel that was in the middle of nowhere, so our drives were always pretty long, and it was pretty common for people to get sick on the bus, myself included. Quite often we ended up having all the pregnant ladies sit at the front of the bus, and I joined them a couple times. It was definitely an experience to have to wait for that moment to get off the bus and kiss the ground because you feel safe once again.
I think that we probably were on the bus twice as long as we were actually singing on this tour. And some of the bus rides seemed to go on forever to me. But fortunately, they all went well, and I never got sick, and I think it was a pretty good setup.
This morning we were bused to a nearby town to rehearse, and we rehearsed in a little choir room that belongs to another choir, and the girl who directs that choir fixed our Basque for the third time, and so that was helpful.
I just gave the pitch, and then you would scoop into it, and you one then.
One of the highlights of tour was when we were given the opportunity to work with Jessop, the composer of Scoville, which was one of the required pieces for the competition. To have him sit down with us and work with Dr. Allred and really transform the piece into the amazing piece that it ended up being for us was absolutely wonderful. When you're able to work with the composer of a piece and have them speak so highly of what you've done with the piece, it's indescribable. Another great highlight involving that piece was when we were at our final little banquet after the awards show. Dr. Allred was asked to direct all of the competitors in Scoville and to have everyone sing together with that amazing piece. It was something I personally will never forget, to have everybody come together and sing such a great piece. It was one of the highlights of tour for me.
I asked our guides if there was if it was prestigious for them to be the guides for our group, and they said yes, it was very prestigious for them to be with what they considered as the winning group. And also, I did mention a minute ago, I loved it in our final concert when we looked down and saw them singing along with us in "My Soul's Been Anchored in the Lord." I thought that was pretty cool.
This tour was very unique when it came to the cuisine, and I know that I'd speak for several people on tour when I say that it wasn't the most ideal cuisine. It was very rich in seafood. I'm grateful, and I was given the opportunity to try several new things. It scared me to death sometimes when they put it on my plate, but I was able to try some things that there's a pretty good chance I'll never try again.
They served a lot of fish. It was like fish followed by fish with sort of an afterthought of fish as well.
I feel like it's my duty to put to rest certain rumors that were started on tour about a certain soprano that may not smile very often, but we definitely proved that she does smile on occasion. We did have some free time on this tour, and some of us spent it shopping, others climbed buildings, some chose to defile some Spanish monuments, and we even made a chin video.
We basically spent it looking for cheap Basque souvenirs and Magnum bars, and I think we were more successful finding the Magnum bars, actually. Most people neglected to buy their souvenirs in time to take anything home. I love Spain, and I had no idea what to expect when we came here. I really had nothing to compare it to. I've been to Germany and Italy and France and England, but never to Spain. And it's just been delightful, everything about it. And to me, the Spaniards, and the Basques maybe more specifically, remind me a lot of the Italians. They just seem very relaxed and friendly and open, not uptight. I just can't wait to come back. I'd put this high on my list to come back to Spain.
It's a beautiful area. It's lots of green rolling hills with sheep grazing on all of them. You can see the ocean from here. It's very beautiful. It's been pretty chilly and rainy and wet. Everything's wet. And there's moss growing on the walls and on a lot of the buildings, but it gives it a really beautiful look.
When the award ceremony started, it was really cool to see that they had prepared some traditional Basque dancing and to see the culture involved in that. And one of the greatest parts, in my opinion, was to see Ashley and Michael and Ian and Laurel get pulled up into the group and to take part in that dancing and to watch people like McDougall really get into it. They really strutted their stuff around that handball court. It was great. On tour we were asked to perform in several churches that had obviously been around for hundreds of years, and each one had a very different acoustic. Some had lots of reverb and some were just very live with very little reverb, but every concert was a different experience and great in its own way. The acoustics were always so fun to sing in, and when you're in a great acoustic with great repertoire, it's really easy to produce this great sound and to really get into the music and really lock and make something beautiful happen.
It was interesting to hear and feel the sound difference that we had from each of the cathedral spaces. You kind of expect that they're going to be about the same, and they really weren't. They were very different. The last cathedral that we sang in San Francisco, I think, was maybe one of the more live spaces that we were in. It got better once we had an audience in there, but it was a little bit tricky in the pre-game warm-up when the echo comes back and you're trying to follow tempo and lock pitches and stuff like that. It makes it a little bit trickier, but all of that said, each time we went out and did one of those public concerts in the churches, it was a really special experience.
I think that each concert takes a sort of its own characteristic because of the church setting and our sound and how energized we are, as well as the audience. I think my favorite concert was the one here near Bilbao, only because it was a smaller audience. We could see the people on the back row. I think we were right at our peak, sang well. Our final concert last night in Tolosa was really awesome, but the audience just went on forever and ever, and it's harder to connect with them when they're that far back. I love that smaller audience here by Bilbao, where you could see all the standing room only people and people poking around columns to try to get a view of us. I thought that was really great. Right. The last concert, one of the men who came to join us for dinner, I don't know if he was a judge or if he was one of the people, sponsors or organizers, sat and sang the whole song of Summertime with us. And another concert, a woman, when we were singing Shigalagriak, if I said that correctly.
Shigalagriak.
Yeah. Was singing the tum-tums with us the whole time. I thought that was pretty cool. Good. And then on Summertime, I was always down towards the front left, and because those audiences on the far right and left were behind us most of the time, we always turned out and sang straight to them. That was kind of fun. I think they appreciated having some connection with the singers during at least that song.
Seeing Yosu's face on the night of the folk competition, his birthday on Sunday, when we sang his piece, but then when we sang Happy Birthday to him, that whole night, it seemed like it was really special for him. That really touched me. And then the final concert in the Cathedral of San Francisco, when we began to sing Agur Yanak, and people of all ages, all generations of the Basque people there, just to see tears in their eyes and to feel that. It was difficult to sing. It was hard for me to keep singing, and that for me was the pinnacle event of the tour.
Overall, I think the tour was a huge success. I thought the group came together very well. I thought friendship started up as a result of tour, and I thought that combined with the thrilling experience of being in a competition and having such great music and such a great band of people, that we all kind of just came together and had a very successful tour. And we definitely have some awards to prove what we did over there.